What happens when one of Britain's most beloved entertainers sits down for what should be a simple morning chat, only to face a barrage of personal attacks and disrespect? In just 41 seconds, a single cutting remark would transform a routine interview into an absolute meltdown that left everyone in the studio speechless. The morning started like any other on the Lorraine Kelly show. The studio lights were bright, the audience was settled in their seats, and the panel was ready. Lorraine sat in her usual spot, flanked by her regular panelists, Christine Lampard and Ross King. They were waiting for their special guest, the legendary singer Cliff Richard, who had just released a new album and was making the rounds on the talk show circuit. Cliff walked onto the set with his characteristic warmth, waving to the audience who erupted in applause. He looked sharp in a navy blazer and crisp white shirt, his smile genuine as he made his way to the guest chair. The audience loved him. They always had. "Welcome. Welcome," Lorraine said, her voice carrying that familiar Scottish lilt. "Lovely to have you here, Cliff." "Thank you for having me," Cliff replied, settling into his seat. "Always a pleasure." But something felt off. Christine and Ross exchanged quick glances. They had worked with Lorraine long enough to recognize when she had that particular glint in her eye, the one that usually meant she was about to stir the pot. "So," Lorraine began, leaning forward slightly. "New album. Another one. How many does this make now? Must be losing count at this point." The audience went quiet. It was not exactly a warm opening. Cliff chuckled politely, clearly choosing to take it as a joke. "Well, when you love what you do, you never really stop counting," he said smoothly. "Music has been my life for over 60 years, and I am grateful for every moment." 60 years, Lorraine repeated, her eyebrows raised. "That is quite a long time, is it not? I mean, do you not ever think about, calling it a day, letting some younger talent have a go?" Christine shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Ross cleared his throat. This was not the usual friendly banter they were used to. Cliff maintained his composure, though his smile tightened just a fraction. "I think there is room for everyone in music, Lorraine, young and old alike. I do not see it as a competition." Right, Lorraine said, now waving her hand dismissively. "But come on, Cliff, be honest. You are not exactly setting the charts on fire these days, are you? I mean, when was the last time you had a number one? The 80s? The 90s? The audience gasped. A few people looked at each other in disbelief. This was getting uncomfortable fast. "Actually," Cliff said, his voice still calm, but with a slight edge now, "I have had several successful albums in recent years. My fans have been incredibly loyal and supportive. That is what matters to me." "Your fans," Lorraine said, and there was something almost mocking in her tone. "Yes, I suppose they are, in their 70s now? 80s? Do they even know how to stream music? Or are they still buying CDs?" Christine actually flinched. "Lorraine," she interjected softly, trying to redirect. "Maybe we could talk about the new album itself. What is it called? Cliff?" "It is called Rise Up," Cliff said, grateful for the intervention. "It is a collection of songs about hope and resilience, about finding joy even in difficult times." "How inspirational," Lorraine said flatly. "Though I have to say, Cliff, speaking of difficult times, you have had your share of those, have you not? All that business a few years back, the investigations, must have been quite the ordeal." The studio went completely silent. Ross put his hand over his face. Christine looked horrified. This was crossing a line, and everyone knew it. Cliff's expression changed. The warmth drained from his face, replaced by something harder, more guarded. "That was a very painful period of my life," he said quietly. "I was completely exonerated. Completely. And I would appreciate not having it brought up in this context." "Oh, I am not saying you did anything wrong," Lorraine said quickly, though her tone suggested otherwise. "I am just saying, it is part of your story now, is it not? Part of your, shall we say, legacy?" "My legacy," Cliff said slowly, is 60 years of music, of bringing joy to millions of people, of charity work and faith and dedication to my craft. That is my legacy. If you say so, Lorraine replied with a shrug, though I think when people hear your name now, they might think of other things first. Just being honest. That was it. That was the moment. Cliff stood up slowly, carefully removing the microphone clipped to his lapel. The studio was so quiet you could hear the tiny click as he set it down on the table. You know what, Lorraine, he said, his voice steady, but filled with quiet dignity. I came here today to talk about my music, to share something positive with your viewers, but it is clear that you have a different agenda. I do not know what I have done to deserve this treatment, but I will not sit here and be disrespected. Oh, come on now, Lorraine said, looking genuinely surprised that he was standing. Do not be so sensitive. I am just asking questions. This is what I do. No, Cliff said firmly. What you do is invite guests onto your show and then belittle them. You mock their age, you mock their career, and then you bring up the most painful chapter of their life as if it is just casual conversation. That is not journalism, Lorraine. That is cruelty. Christine nodded slightly, in clearly agreeing but not wanting to say so out loud. Ross looked down at his notes, staying out of it. I think you are overreacting, Lorraine said, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes now. The audience was dead silent, but their sympathies were clearly with Cliff. Am I? Cliff asked. Tell me, would you speak to any of your other guests this way? Would you tell someone else they should retire because they are too old? Would you bring up someone else's most traumatic experience and call it their legacy? I treat everyone the same, Lorraine said defensively. I ask the questions people want answers to. No, Cliff said firmly. You ask the questions you think will make good television. There is a difference. A big difference. Oh, here we go, Lorraine said, rolling her eyes. The moral lecture. I should have known. It is not a lecture, Cliff replied. It is an observation. I have watched your show before, Lorraine. I have seen how you interview people, and I know that you can be warm and kind when you want to be, which makes what you are doing right now even worse. Because this is a choice. You are choosing to be this way. Lorraine leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. And you are choosing to be overly sensitive. The audience gasped again. Someone actually booed. Lorraine shot them a look, but said nothing. Sensitive, Cliff repeated slowly. Is that what you call it when someone asks to be treated with basic respect? Sensitive? Lorraine started, but Cliff held up his hand. I have been in this business for a very long time, he continued. I have done thousands of interviews. I have answered tough questions. I have dealt with difficult hosts. But there is a difference between tough and cruel, between honest and mean-spirited. And what you have done here today is simply mean. That is your opinion, Lorraine shot back. It is the opinion of everyone in this room, Cliff said, gesturing to the audience. Look at them, Lorraine. Really look at them. Do they look like they are enjoying this? Do they look like they think this is good television? The audience started to murmur. A few people actually started clapping, softly at first, then louder. They were applauding Cliff for standing up for himself. Lorraine's face flushed red. Now wait just a minute, she said, her voice rising. This is my show, and I will ask whatever questions I like. And I have the right to leave whenever I like, Cliff shot back, which is exactly what I am going to do. Lorraine stood up now too, her face flushed. Oh, so that is it? You are just going to walk out? In the middle of my show? Your show, Cliff said. That is all you care about, is it not? Your show. Your ratings. Mind your reputation. What about the people who come on here? What about their feelings? Their dignity? They know what they are signing up for, Lorraine said sharply. This is morning television. It is not supposed to be soft and fluffy. There is a difference between not being soft and being deliberately hurtful, Cliff countered. Surely you can see that. What I see, Lorraine said, her voice rising, is someone who cannot handle a few direct questions. Someone who wants everyone to just worship at his feet and never challenge him. Challenge me? Cliff said, his voice incredulous. You call what you did challenging me? You mocked my age. You dismissed my career. You brought up the worst period of my life and tried to define me by it. That's not challenging. That's attacking. Ross finally spoke up again. Lorraine, maybe we should just take a break. Let everyone cool down. Nobody asked you, Ross, Lorraine snapped, not even looking at him. Ross shrank back in his seat, looking hurt. Christine put her hand on his arm, supportively. See, Cliff said, pointing at the exchange. That's exactly what I mean. You do not just do this to guests. You do it to everyone around you, and people are too afraid to call you out on it. They are not afraid, Lorraine said. They are professional. They are uncomfortable, Cliff corrected. There is a difference. Fine, Lorraine snapped. Shall walk off then. Run away. Very professional. Professional? Cliff laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to talk about professional? A professional host makes their guests feel welcome. Christine finally spoke up. He has a point, Lorraine, she said quietly. This has been, well, it has been a bit much. Lorraine spun to face her. Excuse me? Are you seriously taking his side right now? I am not taking sides, Christine said carefully. I am just saying that maybe we could have handled this differently. We? Lorraine said incredulously. This is my segment, my interview. You are just here to nod and smile. Ross looked up at that. That is not fair, Lorraine, he said. We are supposed to be a team here. Oh, please, Lorraine said. You are both being ridiculous. Cliff watched this exchange with a mixture of sadness and vindication. This is exactly what I am talking about, he said. You do not just disrespect your guests. You disrespect your own colleagues, people who work with you every day. Do not tell me how to run my show, Lorraine said, pointing a finger at him. You come in here with your holier-than-thou attitude. Acting like you are some kind of saint. I never said I was a saint, Cliff replied calmly. But I do try to treat people with kindness, with dignity, something you clearly struggle with. The audience was fully on Cliff's side now. There were scattered shouts of support, people calling out, "Good for you, Cliff," and "You tell her." Lorraine looked around, seeming to realize, for the first time, that the room had turned against her. This is unbelievable, she muttered. Absolutely unbelievable. What is unbelievable, Cliff said, picking up his jacket from the back of the chair, is that you think you can treat people this way and face no consequences. That you can hide behind the excuse of just asking questions while actually just being cruel. I am not cruel, Lorraine protested. I am honest. There is a difference. Honesty without compassion is just cruelty with better PR, Cliff said. My mother taught me that when I was young. Maybe someone should have taught you the same thing. That hit hard. Lorraine opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. Get out, she finally said. Just get out. I was already leaving, Cliff said. He turned to the audience and gave a small bow. Thank you all for your support. I am sorry you had to witness this. The audience erupted in applause, a standing ovation that echoed through the studio. Cliff smiled, a real smile this time, and waved before turning to walk off the set. Sit down, Lorraine barked at the audience. Sit down, all of you. This is still my show. But nobody sat. If anything, they clapped harder. Some people were even whistling and cheering. An older woman in the front row was shaking her head at Lorraine in clear disapproval. I said sit down, Lorraine repeated, her voice shrill now. Let them be, Christine said quietly. They have a right to react. They have a right to be respectful, Lorraine shot back. This is my studio. My rules. Your studio, Ross muttered under his breath. Always your studio. What was that? Lorraine demanded, whirling to face him. Nothing, Ross said quickly, but the damage was done. Everyone had heard the frustration in his voice. Christine and Ross both looked like they wanted to be anywhere else in the world. As Cliff reached the edge of the set, Lorraine called out one last time. You will regret this, you know, walking off like this. It makes you look weak. Cliff stopped and turned back. No, Lorraine, he said quietly. What makes you look weak is needing to tear others down to feel important. I truly hope you figure that out someday. And with that, he walked off, leaving Lorraine standing there, red-faced and furious, while her audience cheered for the man she had just tried to humiliate. Christine leaned over to Ross. We should probably go to commercial, she whispered. We should probably start updating our resumes, Ross whispered back. Lorraine heard them and whirled around. What was that? Nothing, they said in unison, but the damage was done. Everyone had seen what happened. Everyone had heard what was said, and there was no taking it back. Lorraine tried to regain control. Well, she said, forcing a smile that looked more like a grimace. That was unexpected. But we have a great show still ahead, so let us move on, shall we? But the audience was not moving on. They were still buzzing, still talking amongst themselves about what they had just witnessed. Some were even getting up to leave, clearly disgusted by what they had seen. Please, Lorraine said, and for the first time, there was a note of desperation in her voice. Please, everyone, let us just continue with the show. Christine tried to help. We have some wonderful guests coming up later, she said brightly, though her heart clearly was not in it. Some really exciting segments. Right. Yes, Ross added. Lots to look forward to. But it was no use. The energy in the room had completely shifted. What was supposed to be a light, fun morning show had turned into something ugly and uncomfortable. And everyone knew who was to blame. Backstage, Cliff was met by the show's producer, a woman named Sarah, who looked absolutely mortified. I am so sorry, she said immediately. That should never have happened. I do not know what got into her. It is not your fault, Cliff said kindly, but I do think you have a problem on your hands. I know, Sarah said, running her hand through her hair. Trust me, I know. This is not the first time something like this has happened, but it is definitely the worst. Really? Cliff asked, surprised. She does this often? More often than I would like, Sarah admitted quietly. Usually guests just kind of, take it. They laugh it off or change the subject. But you stood up to her. And honestly, I am glad someone finally did. I just could not sit there anymore, Cliff said. There comes a point where you have to draw a line. You drew it in exactly the right place, Sarah assured him. Look, between you and me, there have been complaints before. From guests. I'm from crew members. But she is Lorraine Kelly. The network loves her. The ratings are good, so nothing ever really changes. Maybe this will change things, Cliff suggested. Maybe, Sarah said, though she did not sound hopeful. Are you okay? Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee? I am fine, Cliff assured her. Honestly, I am just disappointed. I had hoped to actually talk about the music, about the message behind the album. But instead, you saw what happened. I did, Sarah said. And for what it is worth, you handled it with incredible grace. A lot of people would have exploded, would have shouted back. That is not who I am, Cliff said simply. I believe in taking the high road, even when someone else is determined to drag you down into the mud with them. Back in the studio, Lorraine was struggling. She tried to introduce the next segment, a cooking demonstration, but her voice was shaky. The chef who came out looked confused by the tension in the room. His name was Marcus, and he had been looking forward to this appearance for weeks. Now he looked like he had walked into a war zone. "So, what are we making today?" Lorraine asked, trying to sound enthusiastic. I was going to show you how to make a lovely shepherd's pie," the chef said nervously, glancing at the still restless audience. "But if this is a bad time—" "No, no," Lorraine insisted, using her smile forced and tight. "It is a perfect time. Let us focus on the food. That is what people are here for, right? The food." Nobody answered. The silence was deafening. "Right," Marcus said slowly. "So, we start with the lamb mince." "Wonderful," Lorraine said, but her eyes kept darting to the audience, to Christine and Ross, to anywhere but the chef in front of her. Are you all right?" Marcus asked quietly. "I am fine," Lorraine snapped. "Just fine. Continue with the recipe." But nobody was focusing on the food. The cameras caught audience members still whispering to each other, still shaking their heads. One woman was texting furiously on her phone, no doubt sharing what had just happened with everyone she knew. Christine and Ross sat stiffly in their chairs, clearly uncomfortable and unsure what to do. The chef started his demonstration, but even he seemed rattled. He forgot to add salt. Ak nearly burned himself on the hot pan, and generally looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. His hands were shaking as he stirred the ingredients. "So the key is to really brown the meat," Marcus said, his voice uncertain. "Mm-hmm," Lorraine said absently. "And then you add the vegetables." "Right." "Are you even listening?" Marcus finally asked, frustration creeping into his voice. Lorraine blinked, seeming to come back to herself. "Of course I'm listening." "Vegetables." "Yeah, you add the vegetables." "I already added them," Marcus said flatly. 2 minutes ago." This is great," Lorraine said weakly. "Really great." It was not great. It was a disaster. And everyone watching knew it. In the control room, the director was having a meltdown of his own. "What do we do?" he asked Sarah, who had rushed back from talking to Cliff. "The whole show is falling apart." "I know," Sarah said, staring at the monitors. "I have never seen anything like this." "Should we cut? Go to an early commercial?" "And say what?" Sarah asked. "This is going to make headlines anyway. Just keep the cameras rolling. We will get through this somehow." But getting through it was easier said than done. Every segment after Cliff's departure felt forced and awkward. The energy never recovered. The audience never settled back into their seats properly. Christine and Ross kept exchanging worried glances, and Lorraine, and for her part, seemed to oscillate between defiant and defensive. One moment she was insisting everything was fine. The next she was snapping at the crew for minor mistakes. "Can we get the lighting right, please?" she barked during a commercial break. "Is that too much to ask?" "The lighting is fine, Lorraine," the lighting technician called back, clearly at the end of his patience. "Well, it does not look fine to me," Lorraine retorted. Christine put her hand on Lorraine's arm. "Maybe we should all just take a breath," she suggested gently. Lorraine pulled her arm away. "I am breathing just fine. Thank you very much." The rest of the show limped along. A segment about spring fashion trends fell flat. An interview with a local business owner was stilted and brief. Even the usually popular audience question segment felt subdued. Finally, mercifully, the show reached its end. Lorraine gave her closing remarks, thanking everyone for watching. But her usual warmth was absent. She looked tired and defensive, her smile not reaching her eyes. "Join us tomorrow for another great show," she said, but it sounded more like a plea than a promise. As soon as the cameras stopped rolling, Lorraine stood up abruptly and walked off the set without a word, to Christine or Ross. The audience filed out quietly, many of them still talking about the Cliff Richard incident. Christine and Ross sat there for a moment, just looking at each other. "That was," Christine started. "Yeah," Ross finished. "It really was." In his dressing room, Cliff was packing up his things when there was a knock on the door. It was Christine. "I just wanted to say," she began, looking genuinely apologetic, "that I am sorry for all of that. You did not deserve it." "Thank you," Cliff said warmly. "I appreciate that, and for what it is worth, I do not blame you. And you were put in an impossible position." "I should have said more," Christine said. "Should have stood up for you more strongly." "You said enough," Cliff assured her. "Sometimes just acknowledging that something is wrong is enough. You did that." Christine smiled gratefully. "You are very kind, much kinder than, well, than you needed to be." "Life is too short to hold grudges," Cliff said. "Besides, I genuinely hope Lorraine learns something from this. I hope she realizes that she can be tough and challenging without being cruel." "I hope so too," Christine said, though she did not sound convinced. "Take care, Cliff. And I really do hope we can have you back sometime, under better circumstances." "I would like that," Cliff said. "I really would." After Christine left, Cliff sat down for a moment, just collecting his thoughts. It had been a strange, difficult morning. Not at all what he had expected. But in a way, he was glad it had happened. Glad he had stood up for himself. Glad he had not just sat there and taken it. He thought about all the years he had spent in the entertainment industry, all the ups and downs, all the challenges and triumphs, and he realized that moments like this, difficult as they were part of what made him who he was. Someone who believed in dignity, in kindness, in treating others the way you wanted to be treated. Lorraine might never understand that. She might continue on the same path, using her platform to tear others down rather than build them up. But that was her choice, her burden to carry. Cliff picked up his bag and took one last look around the dressing room. Then he walked out, his head held high, ready to move forward. Because that was what he did. That was what he had always done. And somewhere in the studio, Lorraine sat alone in her office, staring at her reflection in the mirror. For just a moment, just a brief flash, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, Cliff had been right. But the moment passed. She shook her head, pushed the thought away, and started preparing for tomorrow's show. Because that was what she did. That was what she had always done. Two very different people. Two very different paths. And one morning that nobody involved would ever forget. The makeup artist who had worked on Cliff earlier that morning stopped by his dressing room just as he was about to leave. I just wanted to tell you," she said quietly, "that everyone backstage is talking about what you did. And we all think you were right. We have all seen how she treats people. Guests, crew members, everyone. Someone needed to say something." Cliff smiled at her. "Well, I am glad if it helps in some small way. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect, no matter who they are or what job they do." "That's exactly right," the makeup artist said. "I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. You certainly earned it." As Cliff finally left the building, walking out into the London morning, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. Yes, the interview had gone terribly wrong. Yes, it would probably make headlines. Yes, people would talk about it. But he had done the right thing. He had stood up for himself without stooping to Lorraine's level. He had maintained his dignity even in the face of disrespect. And that, more than any chart position or album sale, was what truly mattered. Behind him, back in the studio, the crew was busy breaking down the set and preparing for the next day. But the atmosphere was different now. Heavier. People were quieter than usual, more thoughtful. And in her office, Lorraine sat at her desk, trying to focus on the next day's rundown. But Cliff's words kept echoing in her mind. Honesty without compassion is just cruelty with better PR. She pushed the papers away and put her head in her hands. The audience who had witnessed it all went home with a story to tell. The crew went home with questions about their own workplace. Christine and Ross went home, wondering how much longer they could work in such an environment. And Cliff Richard went home knowing that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply walk away from people who refuse to treat you with basic human decency.